I can't be the only one who thinks that Disney Plus launched in the UK at just the right time, right? I mean, if it wasn't for that and the fact that Animal Crossing had come out just before it, I think I'd be losing my mind right now. But, you know, lockdown has become a lot more bearable with having new things to play and new things to watch, and particularly with regards to Disney Plus, it's finally given me a chance to jump into The Mandalorian, which I've been waiting for ever to finally watch, and it's here, and I have a lot to say about it. In fact, it's strange. I find that the more time I spend watching The Mandalorian, the more it's made me realise just how much I dislike some of the modern Star Wars movies. And so in that regard, I wanted to talk a bit about what makes The Mandalorian work and why some of those Star Wars films haven't. The first thing I wanted to draw attention to is the use of fewer characters, and I think this has been a bugbear for a lot of people, especially with those recent Star Wars movies, or the most recent trilogy, is that there's just too many characters to the point where, I mean, you will get this immediately from any time spent watching The Mandalorian. Fewer characters means that you spend more time with the characters who are on screen, and as a result you can connect with them more, you can understand their motivations, and you just get more invested in what they're doing. Whereas with especially the Rise of Skywalker, there's just so much going on that really you don't know who you're supposed to be rooting for at a specific time, or how this relates into the overall timeline of what's happening. Whereas at least with The Mandalorian, the smart move of having really just the Mandalorian as the central character, Baby Yoda as a sort of comic relief, small side character, and then a rotating cast of secondary characters or side characters each episode, I think really helps to keep the focus on the Mandalorian, and you enjoy spending time with him, and the more time you spend with him, the more he starts to make sense as a character. And in fact, one of the better things that the show does is it's in no rush to get to where it's going. In fact, each episode spends a fair amount of time in only a small number of sets and locations, and for that I feel like this is probably one of the best Star Wars properties that's ever been released. You spend more time living in that world and enjoying everything that it has to offer, that it starts to feel more real the more time that you spend there. In fact, it reminded me quite a lot of a recent sci-fi classic, Blade Runner 2049, in which you spend a lot of time with one central character, Kay, played by Ryan Gosling, but also you spend a fair amount of the movie just in Kay's apartment. It's this really small studio flat that really it only has, it's split into 2 rooms at best, but because you spend more time there, the world that he envelops feels more real, and everything around it feels more real as a result. I think sci-fi only really works if we believe it to be real to the characters that we're following, in that you can still be wowed by leaps in technology, you can have flying cars and laser guns, but if it feels like those items and properties aren't tangible within a world occupied by that character, it starts to fall away as just CGI mess. And I think a lot of people will recognise that problem with The Rise of Skywalker. That's a film that was so desperate to get to its finale that it just rushed through scene to scene, keen on hitting those story beats so that you knew where the plot was going, but not necessarily focusing on the characters themselves. Certainly not in comparison to The Force Awakens, which I felt was a really good movie, and spent more time investing in a setup. At this point in the UK, I'm only 5 episodes into The Mandalorian, and I know that there's 8 episodes in the season in total, so who knows, maybe the last couple of episodes completely botch it, and I completely change my tune, but somehow I don't believe that that's going to be the case. Up until now, The Mandalorian has been definitely one of the best modern TV shows that I've seen, and certainly I feel like it's precisely what the Star Wars canon needed at this point in time, in that you had a couple of movies that really just missed the mark for so many fans. I mean, personally, I liked The Force Awakens, I thought Rogue One was really good, Last Jedi had its moments, but Rise of Skywalker and Solo, you can just keep those movies, they're not really worth watching, to be honest. And so I really hope the Star Wars story focuses on the television format, specifically Disney Plus, for the foreseeable future, just to be able to get its bearings again and regain a focus on what makes this brand interesting. It's the characters. Sure, it's an amazing world that they live in, but it's those characters that pull us in and make us want to keep watching, and I feel like The Mandalorian hits that on the head perfectly. And so I'm really excited to see where it goes. But if you completely disagree and feel that the recent Star Wars trilogy is a heck of a lot better than The Mandalorian, then hey, I'd want to hear about it. Please let me know, hit up the comment section, hit subscribe, or just, send emails saying you hate my face and my opinions. Whatever works for you. We're all in lockdown, so you got to find something to do. But I want to get back to watching Recess or Simpsons, or pretty much just binge watching the entire Disney Plus catalogue at this point. I mean, really, it is the only thing to do. It's alright, we're going to be fine.